Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Zain Ol Abdin, and today I'm super excited to share my complete, honest crypto journey. How I started with just $100 and turned it into $10,000. Yep, you heard that right. $100. Not 1,000, not 5,000, just $100. And the best part? I didn't have any fancy tips, insider secrets, or magic trading bots. Everything I did, step by step, I'm going to share with you today. When I first started, I had absolutely zero experience. I didn't know what wallets were. I had no idea how exchanges worked, and I definitely didn't understand charts or trends. Honestly, it was a little scary, because putting even $100 into something I barely understood felt risky. I made mistakes right from the start. I panicked, I sold some coins too early, and I chased hype a couple of times. But slowly, I started learning what really works in crypto, and that's what allowed me to grow my small $100 investment into something much bigger. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a story about overnight riches. This is about patience, learning, and taking smart risks. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how I picked my first coins, the mistakes that almost cost me everything, how I turned small wins into real profits, and the mindset that separates people who succeed in crypto from those who constantly lose money. We're going to go step by step. I'll show you how I researched coins, how I managed my small portfolio, the tools and platforms I used, and even the times I got scared and almost gave up. I'll be sharing screenshots of my trades, my wins, and my losses. Nothing is held back. You'll get a behind-the-scenes look at the strategy that worked for me and the lessons I learned the hard way, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. And here's the thing, even if you're starting with just $50 or $100, this video will show you that it's possible to grow your money with discipline, research, and the right mindset. You don't need to be an expert or have a lot of capital to start. You just need the right approach, patience, and willingness to learn from mistakes. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and stick with me for the next hour, because we're diving deep into the real crypto journey, the ups, the downs, the mistakes, the wins, and everything in between. This isn't hype, this isn't clickbait, and I promise by the end, you'll have a roadmap you can actually use to start your own crypto journey the right way. So let's start from the very beginning. I had just $100 to my name for crypto. Now, $100 might seem tiny, and honestly it was, but here's the thing. At that stage, the mindset mattered way more than the money itself. I knew I had to be careful, but I also knew that even a small amount could teach me big lessons if I approached it the right way. Before I even bought my first coin, I spent a lot of time just researching. I was glued to crypto news, reading blogs, scrolling through Twitter, and watching YouTube videos to understand how the market works. I learned about exchanges like Binance and Coinbase, how to create accounts, how trading works, and how to safely store my coins in wallets. And one thing I quickly realized was that security is everything. I set up 2FA, backed up my wallets properly, and made sure I understood how to keep my crypto safe. Losing money to a hack at that stage would have been devastating. Once I felt ready, I had to choose my first coins. I decided to stick with well-known names like Bitcoin and Ethereum for safety, and then I experimented with a few small-cap altcoins, the kind that had high potential but higher risk. Looking back, my first big mistake was that I didn't fully understand some of the tokens I bought. I chased hype a little too fast, which taught me a crucial lesson. Always do your research and understand what a coin actually does before investing a single dollar. Even with just $100, these early steps were game-changing. I learned how to read basic charts, track my portfolio, and slowly build confidence in the crypto space. And the mindset shift here is huge. Starting small doesn't mean thinking small. It's about learning, experimenting safely, and preparing for the bigger moves ahead. So That's where my journey really began, with $100, a lot of research, a few mistakes, and the mindset that every small win is a step towards something much bigger.
So once I finally felt ready and confident after all that research, I decided to make my first trades. And let me tell you, it was both exciting and terrifying. I remember buying my first coins and almost immediately panicking. Prices moved a little and I thought I was losing money, so I sold a small portion too early. That little mistake cost me some potential gains, but it also taught me an extremely valuable lesson. Emotions can destroy your profits if you're not careful. This is when I started learning about different trading strategies. One of the first things I discovered was dollar cost averaging. Instead of putting all my money in at once, I learned to buy in smaller amounts over time. This reduced my risk and helped me avoid the anxiety of watching the market fluctuate every minute. I also realized the danger of going all in on a coin without fully understanding it, a mistake I had nearly made during my first trades. Another big lesson was avoiding FOMO, or the fear of missing out. Early on, I got tempted to buy every coin trending on social media or YouTube, thinking I might miss the next big 10x. That didn't work out well. Some of those coins crashed the next day, and I lost money because I chased hype instead of sticking to research. Then came the part everyone struggles with, understanding charts. I started learning the basics, candlesticks, support and resistance levels, and simple trend analysis. I wasn't ready to be a full-time technical analyst, but even understanding these small things made a huge difference in making smarter trades. I also made some mistakes that many beginners make. I sold coins too early, out of fear, overtraded because I thought more trades meant more profits, and at times, I listened to random social media tips without verifying them. Those losses hurt, but they were crucial learning experiences. Despite the mistakes, I had small wins that built my confidence. Seeing even tiny gains reinforced that my strategy was working. I also started using free tools like CoinMarketCap and TradingView to track my portfolio, watch market trends, and understand performance over time. These tools became my best friends for tracking progress and making informed decisions. Looking back, this phase was all about experimentation and learning. My first trades weren't perfect, far from it, but they set the foundation for bigger moves later. I learned to balance patience with action, strategy with flexibility, and most importantly, to keep my emotions in check. These lessons from my first trades are what allowed me to slowly turn that initial $100 into a much larger portfolio over time.
All right, so after learning from my first trades, I started moving into the next phase of my journey, transitioning from that initial $100 to something bigger, like $500 or $1,000. This was a critical phase because now it wasn't just about experimenting, it was about building a real strategy that could scale. The very first thing I focused on was portfolio diversification. I realized putting all my money into a single coin was way too risky. So I split my investments between safer, more established coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a smaller portion into altcoins that had potential for higher growth. The idea was simple. The stable coins would protect the base, while the altcoins gave me the chance for bigger returns. Next came risk management. One of the biggest lessons I learned in crypto is to never invest more than you can afford to lose. Even with $500 or $1,000, I made sure that if things went wrong, it wouldn't completely wipe me out. This mindset kept me calm during market dips and helped me make rational decisions instead of emotional ones. I also started using stablecoins like USDT and USDC to protect gains. Whenever I made a small profit, I would convert a portion of it into stablecoins to lock in value. This simple step saved me from big losses during volatile market swings and made me realize the importance of not just chasing growth, but protecting what you've earned. Now, let me share a bit about my personal allocation strategy because this was a game changer for me. Roughly, I would keep around 50% of my portfolio in Bitcoin, 30% in Ethereum, and the remaining 20% in carefully chosen altcoins. This balance gave me exposure to potential high-growth opportunities while keeping the foundation solid. Of course, everyone's strategy will be different depending on their risk tolerance, but having a clear plan helped me avoid random impulsive decisions. During this phase, I also started tracking my portfolio regularly, monitoring performance, and adjusting allocations when necessary. I learned to be patient, resist overtrading, and understand that sometimes the best move is no move at all. Small, consistent decisions added up over time and laid the groundwork for turning that $500 to $1,000 portfolio into something much bigger down the line. So, in summary, this stage was all about building structure, diversifying wisely, managing risk, protecting gains with stablecoins, and sticking to a clear allocation strategy. These steps transformed my approach from random trades to a real, disciplined portfolio strategy, and set the stage for the bigger wins that were coming next.
Now we're entering the exciting part of my journey, taking my portfolio from around $1,000 to over $5,000. This is where things started to get really interesting, because the lessons I learned from my first trades and portfolio building finally started to pay off. The first thing I focused on was researching high growth opportunities. I spent hours digging into early-stage coins and tokens, looking for projects with real potential, solid teams, and active communities. It wasn't about chasing hype. It was about understanding the fundamentals of a project before even thinking about investing. I remember discovering a few smaller tokens that later went on to give 5x, even 10x returns. Those wins were huge, and they reinforced the value of careful research and patience. But of course, mistakes happened along the way. I chased some 100x coins without proper research, and that was painful. Timing errors also cost me some gains, buying too early or selling too late. These moments were frustrating, but they were invaluable lessons that taught me how to evaluate risk versus reward and how to control my emotions under pressure. One of the key strategies that worked for me was holding long-term coins while using short-term trades to reinvest profits. For example, I kept a solid portion of my portfolio in Bitcoin and Ethereum, knowing they were less risky and had long-term potential. At the same time, I would take smaller amounts to experiment with higher risk trades. If a trade worked out, I would reinvest those gains back into my main portfolio. This approach allowed me to grow steadily without jeopardizing the foundation I had built. By the end of this phase, my $1,000 had grown to over $5,000. It wasn't luck. It was a combination of careful research, smart allocation, holding strong fundamentals, and using profits wisely. These high-growth moves taught me that with the right strategy and mindset, small investments can snowball into serious gains even in a volatile market. So, to summarize this phase, focus on research, avoid hype-driven mistakes, balance long-term holds with smart short-term trades, and above all, maintain patience and discipline. This stage set the foundation for scaling beyond $5,000 and eventually turning my initial $100 investment into a life-changing portfolio. Now we're entering the final and most exciting phase of my journey, taking my portfolio from $5,000 to $10,000. This stage was all about scaling up my capital safely, applying the lessons I'd learned in the earlier phases and implementing more advanced strategies. At this point, I had more confidence and experience, but I also knew that bigger money meant bigger risks. One of the first things I focused on was balancing hodling with swing trading. I kept a significant portion of my portfolio in strong, long-term coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, letting them grow steadily over time. At the same time, I allocated a smaller portion for swing trades, buying dips, selling short-term, and reinvesting profits. This combination allowed me to maximize growth while minimizing risk. I also started exploring DeFi platforms to generate passive income. I learned about staking and yield farming, which allowed me to earn extra returns on my holdings without constantly trading. This was a game changer because it meant my portfolio was working for me 24/7. But as always, I made sure to research every platform carefully to avoid scams or poorly designed projects. Of course, mistakes didn't disappear just because I had more experience. I made some small panic sells when markets dipped suddenly, and at times I experimented with leverage, which is extremely risky. Over-leveraging could have wiped out months of gains if I wasn't careful. These moments reminded me that discipline and risk management are more important than chasing fast profits. One of the biggest lessons in this phase was reinvesting profits instead of cashing out too early. Every time I made a small gain, instead of withdrawing it, I reinvested a portion back into my portfolio. This compounding effect accelerated growth and helped me reach $10,000 faster than I expected. Timing the market also became a crucial skill. I learned to recognize bull versus bear cycles and avoid coins that were overhyped and likely to crash. Understanding market psychology and the cyclical nature of crypto helped me avoid emotional decisions and focus on sustainable growth. By the end of this phase, my portfolio had grown from $5,000 to $10,000. This wasn't luck. It was a combination of careful scaling, advanced strategies, disciplined reinvesting, and most importantly, patience. I realized that making money in crypto isn't about chasing hype or taking reckless risks. It's about smart decisions, timing, and letting your portfolio grow steadily. So, to summarize this stage, scale your capital safely, combine hodling with swing trading, explore passive income strategies like DeFi, avoid panic and leverage mistakes, reinvest profits, and understand market cycles. Following these steps allowed me to turn my initial $100 into a life-changing $10,000 portfolio. And this final phase was the culmination of everything I had learned along the journey.
All right. Now that we've gone through the entire journey from starting with $100 to turning it into $10,000, I want to talk about the most important part of crypto success: mindset and lessons learned. Looking back, some of the biggest mistakes I made weren't about missing a coin or losing a trade. They were about mindset. I let fear and impatience affect some of my early trades. I chased hype, sold too early, and sometimes invested without proper research. But here's the key. Once I recognized these mistakes, I made a conscious effort never to repeat them. Learning from failure was just as important as celebrating wins. The three pillars that carried me through this journey were research, patience, and risk management. Every coin I invested in, every trade I made was backed by research. I learned to be patient. Crypto is volatile, and markets swing all the time. And I managed risk by only investing money I could afford to lose, and using strategies like portfolio diversification and stablecoins to protect gains. For anyone just starting out, here's my advice. Start small and educate yourself. You don't need thousands of dollars to begin. Even $50 or $100 can teach you critical lessons if you invest wisely. Keep your emotions out of trading. Fear and greed are your biggest enemies. Stick to your research, follow your strategy, and don't panic when prices swing. Finally, remember that crypto is a marathon, not a sprint. Success doesn't come overnight. It comes from consistent learning, smart decisions, and a disciplined approach. If you follow these principles, you can avoid the common mistakes I made and put yourself in a position to grow your portfolio steadily over time. So, to sum it up, learn from mistakes, always do your research, Be patient, manage risk, and stay disciplined. With the right mindset, anyone can take a small starting investment and turn it into something life-changing, just like I did with my $100. This journey isn't about luck. It's about smart decisions, persistence, and the willingness to learn from every experience.
Now that I've shared my entire journey and the lessons I've learned, I want to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the tools and resources that made it all possible. Knowing the right platforms and staying informed is half the battle in crypto, and using the wrong tools can cost you both time and money. First up are the exchanges. I primarily used platforms like Binance and Coinbase to buy, sell, and trade crypto. These exchanges are user-friendly, reliable, and secure. Binance was great for exploring a wide variety of coins, while Coinbase was perfect for beginner-friendly trades and easier access to major cryptocurrencies. But remember, no matter how good an exchange is, you need to stay vigilant about security. Speaking of tracking your portfolio, I relied heavily on portfolio trackers like CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. These platforms helped me monitor the value of my holdings in real time, track market trends, and analyze historical data. Using these tools gave me a clear picture of where my investments stood and helped me make informed decisions about when to buy, sell, or hold. When it comes to learning resources, I spent countless hours on YouTube following crypto channels that focus on education and market analysis. Twitter was another goldmine. I followed crypto influencers, project teams, and thought leaders to stay updated on the latest news, trends, and insights. I also read blogs and project white papers to understand the fundamentals behind each coin. Knowledge is power, and staying informed helped me avoid mistakes and spot opportunities early. Finally, security cannot be overstated. I used hardware wallets to safely store long-term investments, enabled two-factor authentication or 2FA on all my accounts, and kept multiple backups of important credentials. Losing access or falling victim to a hack could have completely derailed my progress, so investing time and effort in security was non-negotiable. So, in short, the right exchanges, portfolio trackers, learning resources, and security measures were critical to my success. If you're serious about starting your crypto journey, I highly recommend setting up these tools from day one. They will save you headaches, help you make smarter decisions, and give you the confidence to grow your portfolio safely and effectively.
And that's it, guys. This was my complete journey from turning just $100 into $10,000 in crypto. It wasn't easy, and it definitely didn't happen overnight. There were ups and downs, mistakes and lessons, wins and losses. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's that success in crypto is possible, even if you're starting small. This journey taught me that crypto isn't about gambling or luck. It's about research, patience, discipline, and risk management. You don't need thousands of dollars to get started. You don't need to chase every hype coin. What you do need is the right mindset and the willingness to learn and grow over time. Even small, consistent steps can lead to massive results if you stay focused. So if this video helped you understand the process better or inspired you to start your own crypto journey, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. I post in-depth guides, tutorials, and strategies that can help you grow step by step, just like I did. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and tell me which part of this journey you want me to explain in more detail next. Do you want me to break down how I researched those 10x coins? Or maybe a deep dive into staking and DeFi? Your feedback helps me create videos that truly help you grow. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. Remember, crypto is risky, but with the right knowledge and patience, even small investments can turn into life-changing opportunities. This is just the beginning. And I can't wait to see what you build from here.